Hi everyone! This is a brief introduction to progressive supranuclear palsy, or PSP. So the name gives us a clue to what the disorder is. Progressive means that it continues to worsen over time. Supranuclear refers to the site of damage, and in this case it's in the brain above the nerve cell clusters or nuclei. And palsy means weakness or problems with muscles. This particular neurodegenerative disease results in challenges with balance, vision, and speech. And common symptoms can include falling backward, slowed movement, trouble with walking, stiffness, difficulty with voluntary eye movement, dysarthria, dysphagia, and changes in behavior and cognition. This can look like apathy, depression, impulsive decisions, things like that. This is a fairly serious condition, and as one doctor noted, the prognosis is discouraging. Generally, there's 2 to 5 years between diagnosis and mortality rate for individuals with PSP. So this is a fairly uncommon condition. There are about 6 in every 100,000 people over the age of 60 who have this condition. It's virtually unseen in people under 45 years old, and it affects older adults. The mean onset age is 65, and it's about the same prevalence as Lou Gehrig's disease or ALS. It's often misdiagnosed as Parkinson's disease when the symptoms first begin because the symptoms are fairly similar. And because of that, the prevalence might be a little bit higher than what is reported. There's also been some discussion about people who present with no to minimal clinical symptoms who show the same buildup of protein in their brains, who could have maybe been experiencing PSP, but more research is needed on that. So I just called a protein out. It's an unclear cause of why the protein builds up, whether that's an environmental exposure or a genetic predisposition. It's unclear, but what we've been able to tell so far is that there's a buildup of a protein called tau in the brainstem, the cerebral cortex, the cerebellum, and the basal ganglia, which makes sense because the symptoms kind of deal with balance, deal with decision making, deal with speech, and all of these areas that would impact that functioning in the body. So that protein buildup causes some degeneration in the nerve cells of those areas. As for how this is related to motor speech disorders, dysarthria is a cardinal feature of PSP. It's more severe than the dysarthria associated with Parkinson's disease usually. It's mixed. Often hypokinetic and spastic features are present, and there are some presentations of ataxic dysarthria, but these are less common. And characteristics can include increased dance fluency, a decreased slow rate, inappropriate silences, deficits in vowel articulation, and harsh voice quality. In addition to this, there's a thought that because people cannot sustain eye contact, they have difficulty with voluntary eye movement, that they lose interest in conversation, or they appear to lose interest in conversation. So people don't often speak with them because they think they're not a willing conversation partner. So I think those are things to keep in mind of how this is related to motor speech disorders, mostly with these features of hypokinetic and spastic dysarthria as characteristic of PSP. Lastly, here are some links to sites where you can learn more about PSP. I know we don't have a lot of spare time or a lot of motivation or interest to spread around, but if you do and are curious, I would recommend these as very informative and in-depth sources for learning more about PSP. Thank you.